All right, I see it's time for us to start. Call us to order. I determined that we do have a quorum. So, all right, we can move on forward. We got four of us here. I guess we don't, was I supposed to be the one to get the person to do the invocation?
I'll tell you what we usually do.
We have an invocation, but
An invocation is we say the Lord's Prayer together, and then we do the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
let's do that. If we can say the Lord's Prayer, Ray, do you mind leading us in the Lord's Prayer?
I stand. Join in prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and power, forever. Join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. If we can go ahead and approve the previous minutes, if everybody can look over those, and if y'all feel like y'all have had enough time, let me know, and we will move to approve.
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right. I have a move for approval of minutes in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Do we have any reports from officers or staff?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
Say to y'all, I've been commissioned to study Robert's Rules of Order, and I've done that, and it's nice, a book about like that thick, the open are like that. But one of the things that I want to remind you about is this, that when motions are made, and before there's any discussion, if there's a matter on the agenda, someone should make a motion, and someone should second it before there's any debate and discussion about it. You can have kind of a general discussion about it, but the body of the discussion needs to be after the motion's made. And what we've done in the past, I've noticed is sometimes we make the motion in the second, then we don't discuss it anymore because all the discussion is taking place before.
Steve, I understand that, but on the other hand, many times you don't have enough information to do some discussion in order to determine what motion you
I
want to
understand it.
make.
I don't mean there shouldn't be any discussion before the motion's made, but after the motion's made and the second, there should again be a reason for it and a discussion before you vote on it. So the minutes will reflect what was taken after the motion was made. I've noticed sometimes they have all the discussion, a motion, a second, and you vote. And then there ought to be some discussion again after the motion and second.
So
Yes, sir.
there's nothing wrong with having this discussion prior to the motion, but after the motion is made, that needs to be reiterated.
Yes, right. Sort of maybe a synopsis of it, or just a sort of a, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other staff reports?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. It looks like we have no old business. We'll move to new business. We have nothing on site plans. We have nothing on final plats. So this looks like we're on zoning amendments. Each of these will have a public hearing before we open them up. So I guess zoning amendment, zoning map amendment 225. If you would, we're opening it up for public hearing. If anybody would like to speak to it, you're limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and your address. And all right, we've opened it up if anybody would like to speak.
Timothy Zane, 606 East Monroe Street.
All right.
I'd like to try to get it zoned back into residential.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay. My name's Don Burt with Coffee County Realty and Auction. I represent Timothy. We ran into an issue whenever the appraisal came through on our deal, and he said it was zoned commercial, which for a rural development USDA loan, FHA, and VA, it requires it to be residential in order for the loan to go through. There was a house that touches our property that was sold 7/28 of 2018. The appraiser didn't note it, it went through just fine. Unfortunately, we got hit. So we're asking for it to be rezoned residential. We've gotten signatures down the road, and he can't sell the property unless we get it zoned residential. We're kind of stuck. I think it was the same issue that you guys had with Washington Court.
All right. Any other public comments?
A question. There were, in the write-up we had, there were 2 lots mentioned. There was a 504 to 512, and then there was 604. And I was
I
a little
believe it was
confused.
505 and 612. Is that right?
No, there was,
It's on page 5.
with the rezoning, there was 2 properties that they weren't a party to the application, but they were notified. The owners of 512 East Monroe Street and 604 East Monroe Street.
Yeah. What the issue there is, I believe it's the 505 that just had his loan go through.
That was 604.
604?
604 is the lot between his lot and the road.
Okay. That was the one where the loan went through. I think he was a little timid about bringing it up. He thought it might affect him. But we talked to his bank, the bank talked to him and told him that, it wouldn't affect him in a negative way. We both tried to go over to the house, of course, after 5 o'clock. It made him mad that we were going over there, so, to ask him to sign this. So he requested that we not bother them anymore. The other house is just a simple fact that the guy wants the property and he wants it for cheap, and he's strong-arming Timothy on it.
Okay. I have no question, there's technicalities I'm talking about. And Lee, this may be more for you. It's a location, it's 508.
Right. Well, that'll be in our discussion portion. Is there anything that you have for them?
Well, they might tell me that one of their properties is 508.
Okay, you just want to know their property?
Ours is 606.
Right. There was 2 applicants. There's Mr. Zandy, then there's Real Estate Solutions, Tennessee Inc. They owned a 508 and 510. And they did a submitted application, a separate application along with his.
On page 5.
Okay.
Talks about properties 508 and 604. In the further discussion, 508 is not mentioned anywhere. 512 is.
There was another one in there too. So,
508 and 510 were both on the application from Real Estate Solutions. There was no application for 512 and 604. That was why I notified them through certified mail that their property was part of an application that they weren't party to, as required by the ordinance. So the owners of 508 and 510 know that their properties is being requested to be rezoned.
Okay. Yes. I'm fine. That's not clear.
Any other comments for the public hearing?
Y'all submitted an application for 408 East Monroe Street, but that was not contiguous to the other lots, so that couldn't be part of the process because that would be spot zoning. Okay, it would be legal. That's the reason why
I
it's
talked
not.
to the other 2 too, they was gonna fill it, they wanted to fill one out too, but then they was never back at home and I got off to work, so. The only 2 that didn't wanna do it was the one that wants, the property for cheap, and then the one that.
Yeah, that one was, yeah, that's 512 East
Yeah.
Monroe Street and
And then
604.
all the other ones on the whole road, all the way up to the very corner, so that they want to own that.
Well, if they make applications, you know, maybe we can do it in a legal manner that they
Right.
requested.
Yeah. Man, I don't know
All right. If there's no other public comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. And now, I guess, is there any other further discussion before we make a motion?
I move we recommend the rezoning.
Second.
All right. We have a motion, and we've heard, to summarize, we've heard that, you know, that they want to rezone back to residential from commercial. So,
And now for discussion.
now for discussion.
Essentially, that entire section of that block will now be zoned residential R1,
R2.
R2,
Yes, sir.
R2. It's all single-family dwellings
Yes,
currently.
except for one. One lot's vacant, but all the rest of them do have single-family dwellings on them.
But we're rezoning for R2.
Yes. We're rezoning for R2. It's R2 across the street, East Monroe Street. It is R2.
All right. Any other further discussion? All right, if not, the motion on the floor is that we send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor of Alderman for the rezoning of this property from commercial to R2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, now we are ready for zoning text amendment 217 about independent living facilities. I'm going to open up the floor to public hearings. Once again, this is 2 minutes. State your name and where your address is, and we'll go from there. It's open.
My name is Chris Sharp. I'm with Urban Engineering, 11852 Kingston Pike. That's Knoxville, 37934. We're the site engineer for Parkview Independent Living. We're proposing the new facility at the intersection of Cedar Lane and William Northern Boulevard. This is my 5th project with of the same type, same developer. You know, a couple in Knox County, one in Blount County. And then going through Tullahoma's current ordinance, you know, this type of facility isn't currently defined, nor are the requirements for this type of facility, just because it's not planned use. But our request is being made to kind of tailor the ordinance toward what we are proposing, which is also consistent with what was approved and constructed at the other sites. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? All right, then. Any other comments in the public hearing? All right, I will close the public hearing. I will open up discussion for zoning text amendment 217, independent living facilities. Noted in the file, as they've talked to everybody as well, and I think the only thing is the fire department wanted to make sure there was a side yard setback of 20 feet for the structure and height of 50 or more. I think that was the only other comment.
Yeah, it was changed to, to discuss it with the applicant, we've changed it to 20 feet per the recommendation of the fire department.
Is that consistent with the rest of the ordinance, or is that just for this one?
But it's consistent with the rules of the R3 district right
Yeah.
now, so they require 20 feet
Mhm.
for multifamily.
Okay. So it's not an exception, it's consistent.
Yeah, it's the rule, yeah, it's consistent with the current regulations.
Does that setback from the sidewalk, is that different from the setback from the front setback from the street?
Yeah, the side, well, this is for the side yard setback, like if it was abutting another property, the common property line, it'd have to be 20 feet back. Now, from a street right of way, it would have to be 50 feet from the street right of way if it is a arterial collector road, and it would be 35 feet from a local road, and those roads are identified on the major thoroughfare plan.
Is that the only Is that the only situation where the setback is only 35 feet?
Yes, as far as for anything that's more than two units per acre.
It seems to me that front setback is 50 feet is pretty short in itself, and then we're moving it to 35. And I think that's too close to the street, in my opinion. Why don't we change that?
Why did we change that?
Yeah.
Oh, it was part of their, we was looking at their site plan and what they were actually doing in the, I guess the impact on it's so low that it didn't feel that it was necessary. They're not gonna have nearly the traffic count, and so, being a local road's not supposed to have that high traffic count either.
Cedar Lane,
Well, it's not gonna be a Cedar Lane, it's gonna be a William Northern where the 35 feet
it's
is.
the intersection there,
Yeah.
so it's too close.
It's too
Too
shallow.
close. It's too close.
Yeah, may I add to that, or suppose? Is that okay?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
That 35-foot requirement, we just mimicked, we just didn't, it's the same as current, R3 currently is. Our actual facility, I think, is over 60 feet from the right-of-way of William Northern. So, I mean, we're well in excess of that, that 35-foot minimum.
We could, if you, if there's the commission's wishes, we could change that particular part in this to 50 feet. And
That would be my recommendation.
okay.
But that's different from the other
Yeah.
R3, isn't it?
No, R3 for multifamily is 50 feet from any street right of way.
Okay.
Now, for a single family or a duplex, it only has to be 35 feet if it's in a R3.
So do we have a motion?
The motion is to approve it with that change.
Okay, with the change. All right, do we have a second?
One second.
All right. So the motion is that we will accept the zoning amendment 217 for the independent living with the change of, instead of 35 feet at the setback, making it 50 feet for the setback for the multifamily. Any other further discussion that needs to be stated? I guess it is stated in the minutes that we are changing.
Yes,
with that from-
it'll be
yeah, from
revised
that-
accordingly.
from 30, yeah. And it's favorable decision. Okay, so, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I didn't get a motion
Oh.
and a second.
You can, Ray motion.
I
Ray
seconded
motion,
it.
and she's the one for
I
second.
didn't hear it.
And it's with the changing from 35
35 to
35 feet to 50.
I was busy writing that
I'm
change
sorry.
down, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So, all right, we all good? All right, motion passes. All right. And then the next one. We're getting there.
So many pages.
Here we go. All right. Now we're going to open the floor for discussion of zoning text amendment 218, the off-street parking setback in C1. I'm going to open it for public hearing. We have
Staff initiated change there.
nothing, okay. So I'll close it.
Changing that requirement, there's, since there is no parking minimum requirements in the C2 district, didn't see the need for that particular requirement. It kind of would, hinder somebody's ability to try to do something a little bit, if they might want to do something a little more creative or have an idea of doing shared parking or satellite parking project, and so thought that would probably be the best to take that regulation out of C1. And even if, a parking lot is removed, or if a section of it is removed, there is no minimum number of parking spaces, so it isn't like a building would be built on the lot, and then the other building that they were sharing the parking with would be reduced to a non-conforming situation because there is no parking count requirement.
Any discussion?
I've got just a question, Lee. Does something like this, where staff initiated change, does that require public notice?
Public notice, it was in the paper.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
What it was Yeah, that was in the newspaper.
Okay.
Why?
I just wanted to.
Okay, yeah. We discussed it at
I
development.
wondered if it was a requirement, and then my second question was gonna be, was there one? You answered them both at the same time.
Okay.
Can you give an example of what this is talking about? Like, I've been reading it for like a couple hours now, I'm like, well, I don't get it.
Parking lots, what the requirement is that if your parking is trying to prevent parking from going across a lot line.
Okay,
And then what it would require is if the parking was within 10 feet of a lot line, then they would have to put some type of physical obstruction to keep the cars from actually being able to get over the lot line, such as a wheel stop or curbing or railroad ties, some type of physical barrier. But will remove that requirement for the C1 because, you get a lot of these lots that where they'll build the building on the entire lot, they'll have parking and on some and then of course you might have a little parking on the side and you wouldn't want to, if they want to do a parking on the other side, and do a share parking project, then this would allow them to do that without having to combine the lots.
okay. Got
Because
it,
if they don't combine the lots, they would have to put in the physical barriers.
got it,
Yeah.
okay.
Would like to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? I think this was staff initiated, and with that, we have everything. So we'll say we are voting to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen on zone amendment 215. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And with that, any other new business?
Mr. Chairman, there's no other business.
Excuse me, okay. Any other? With that? All
No
right.
other business. Oh, there is, the next meeting will be Monday, February the 18th.
Oh, okay. I guess with that, do we need a motion to adjourn? We just adjourn.
Larry's been doing the motion to adjourn.
Okay. All right, with that, we're closed.
You can adjourn.